Sturm here. This looks a little more like what we expected last week. Maybe similar, little bit lower quality opponent, but this is what we expected from the Cowboys this week. We expected this from them last week. You're just going to have one of those games like they did last week every now and then, and they are thumping with no mercy Atlanta right now. And maybe my favorite Mike McCarthy game of the season so far.
It's almost getting a little bit like we want to know what happened between these two franchises or something. This is bordered on personal when you are banging timeouts and going for two. Maybe an onside kick will start the second half or something like that. But
Don't let Bones in his bag.
What's going on here? You wanted to see a statement today, and that was heard if you go to the room 21-3, and now I don't know, the floodgates have opened.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of the focus, and this is maybe a little bit misleading because Dallas is dominating Atlanta down in, down out. By the way, I think they've had double the plays Atlanta has.
Yeah.
But a lot of the focus is going to be on the decision to go for a 4th and 7 for the Falcons with a 49-yard field goal on the table when they're down 7-3. I'm as, I think, aggressively minded when it comes to offense as anybody, and that's not what I'm going for. I mean, and I understand like you're an underdog and you're trying to change the odds a little bit, but I mean, you got a good kicker. You can shorten it to a 1-point game, or at least you have a maybe 70% chance to shorten it. That is not what I'm going for.
Yeah, although that might be the point of why you go for it when you're a team this powerful. And this is what I've been trying to say all along, is it's not about whether you get each 4th down. It's about changing the posture of not only your team, but more importantly, your opponent. And so they come here knowing your plan. And your plan is to put every drive into the end zone. And so there's an automatic anxiety amongst an opposing coaching staff is, man, we've got to keep up with these guys. And sometimes it's real. Sometimes it's just imagined.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been what was at play there, is Atlanta felt that we have to keep up with the Cowboys. And so they do things out of their personality because they're trying to match your personality, which is the whole point of getting a coach that is not risk-averse in the first place.
Yeah, and if you go back to that drive, they had picked up 2 first downs on that drive, both of them on throws to Pitts. It felt like he was getting going a little bit there. So I guess you could see the idea that they're thinking, all right, we have picked up 2 first downs in 4 plays. Let's see what we can get here. But I feel like Jordan Lewis had the PBU on that one. I feel like Jordan Lewis and Chauncey Golston have both had phenomenal games on the defensive side of the ball. Atlanta's making it easy for him a lot of the time. But if
Dorrance
Armstrong for sure with the sack fumble. If there was concern that, obviously you add Gregory being out to DeMarcus Lawrence, that they would not be able to get pressure, they have.
Yeah, it's really been impressive. And, I almost think if you do play a team like the Cowboys, and I do think this will be tried by other teams, you almost have to think the opposite of what Atlanta's thought, where Atlanta feels they have to match your tempo. I think what we've seen from various other teams over the years against, like, Kansas City. I mean, we don't have enough material for Dallas really making the league act out of character, but we do have teams like Kansas City and maybe McVay over the years. And I think what we've seen is those teams try to go the other direction and play like Belichick. You would try to play a tempo game and try to just frustrate them with long, deliberate drives. And it may not have application on a 4th and 7, but it does basically as you start marching. You don't speed up. You actually try to slow down.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the blueprint for Dallas. What they're doing today is the blueprint where they scare you into feeling like you have to score 3 touchdowns in every single possession.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, Dak looks solid after last week.
More than solid, man.
Yeah, he had a couple dimes. And
that touchdown is crazy. That cover 0 touchdown where he knows he can't block everybody.
Yeah.
And so it is basically buy time, take a hit, but you're doing it because there's no safety whatsoever. And that's the other thing we haven't even touched on, which I'm sure the post-game show will have far more room for these activities. But when you get Gallup back, it's not just about Gallup. It's about basically like a starting rotation in baseball is, okay, if I get an ace, now my 1 becomes a 2, my 2 becomes a 3, and all the matchups just make more sense. That's exactly what happens here. With CeeDee Lamb is now going against Avery Williams as opposed to one of the, either Fabian Moreau or A.J. Terrell. And so now that is, absolutely just a beautiful matchup that you can expose. So Gallup makes that possible, and Cooper has a better matchup. So everybody slides down the order, and you become more of a diverse offense that is scary.
Yeah, and I don't have stats on this, but so it's just anecdotal. But I feel like Gallup is so good at the sideline play.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like if there's anybody on this roster that has stood out to me, or in the receiving room as far as being able to do the toe tap, he's really, really good at that. And I also think this team is really good when it comes to the scramble drill.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, that is so much the value of having a veteran quarterback, and a veteran quarterback who's had the same receivers for a couple years, or at least guys who are on the same page as him, is that you can get pressure. And that's why, as we've talked about all week, I just don't think blitzing him is a good idea. There was one Atlanta blitz early, and it's just like, dude, he's going to beat that first guy. And once he beats that first guy, even if you force him out of the pocket, his receivers know low to high, high to low, in to out to in. They're going to convert that.
Yep.
And they do it time and time again.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I think this week we tried to emphasize Denver did not have some secret blueprint. Denver was the beneficiary of Dallas just not making plays, dropping passes, missing passes. Denver deserves credit. They got their win, and they did some things to put the Cowboys in an anxious situation. But I really think more than anything, it was just a sideline that all sort of saw doubt. And it was going to be important for them to erase that doubt today, and that's why I think Dallas has been so doggone emphatic about how they're doing things. Is they just wanted to flush last week and do what a heavyweight should do, which is go out and murder your next opponent because you're so frustrated by what you put on tape last week. You want to suffocate any thread that's out there that, hey, the Cowboys have a weakness.
Yeah, and to wrap up, you and I have talked about this all year. It's a bit frustrating that, like, Kellen Moore is a bit, wonder boy. Dan Quinn, it's like, boy, he fixed this defense, and McCarthy not getting, his proper due. I feel like this is it.
Yeah.
Because after what happened last week, the fact that they are pummeling a team, calling timeouts, going for two, sending punt blocks when they're up 4 scores already.
Yeah.
Like, this is the week where I feel like even the most hesitant to credit McCarthy Cowboy fan will say, all right, it's different. The disposition's different.
He's just over on the sideline yelling Dracarys and just
right, just burning the whole field.
Yes, absolutely. It's beautiful. It's a good thing.
All right, well, we'll be back with a post-game show. You can check it out on the Sports